All right, welcome back to Getting Past the Premium, everybody. We have a fantastic guest on today, Chris Peabody with Ascend. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, good. Where are you at today? Are you?
I am in a phone booth
Yeah,
inside of a WeWork space.
that's why I was asking
So,
where exactly you were. I knew that wasn't your spot usually. That's
but
awesome.
in one of the insurance capitals of the U.S., Columbus, Ohio. So,
Oh, there you go. Nice.
yeah,
That's awesome. I can't say that I've ever been in a WeWork space, but um, probably works, right? Cool.
yeah,
So we were talking before we jumped on, what you obviously talk to a lot of firms, especially with what Ascend does and how you're helping firms create efficiencies around payments and things, which we'll get into. But what are you seeing in firms right now? Just the general thoughts around efficiency, productivity. How are they tackling some of those issues? Like what are you gathering as you're having a lot of these conversations with folks?
yeah. Well, maybe it'd be good to give a little bit of background on myself, and that'll kind of like dovetail into
Yeah.
what I see and what we're tackling at Ascend. I kind of fell into insurance like I would say 90% of the industry has.
On purpose then.
And
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Something
It
like that.
was I failed forward into insurance, as you might say. But my first entrance into the industry was back in almost 5 years ago now. It was May of 2017 with at the time a very small early Insurtech called Bold Penguin. And
Yeah.
while I was there, I didn't know a darn thing about insurance. Why they entrusted me to come to the organization is still a question in my head.
Yeah.
But it's great because it's brought me to this conversation today. And through my time at Bold Penguin, I had the privilege of speaking with some of the largest agencies in the country and understanding a lot of the inefficiencies or desires to stay away from small commercial insurance. And so that was Bold Penguin's objective, was to make small commercial insurance profitable. And so after my time at Bold Penguin, was kind of looking for that next itch to scratch, with the lens of still wanting to make processes more efficient and easier. And I didn't realize what a paying agency bill was for independent agencies until I started to do some due diligence and was introduced to Ascend. And so really what we're focused on as a business is really reducing the friction and manual processes that fall onto producers plates, account managers plates, service team members plates, accounting members plates, in terms of, okay, we have to generate this invoice, we got to figure out how the insured wants to pay. Do they want to pay in full? Do they want to finance the policy? Sometimes there's back and forth that exists from once the down payment link's been sent to the insured. Oh, I didn't know I could get a payment plan. Let me finance this. Can you get me a better rate? Like, there's just all this back and forth that exists,
Oh yeah.
just to get the insured to make the payment. And then once they make the payment, that's like half the battle, right? Okay, we've got a credit card on file, we've got the ACH payment information on file. Now it falls to the accounting members plate where, okay, they have to receive the payment, they have to withhold commission, they have to make the payable to the wholesaler or the carrier. Did the payment clear? It's like all these things that are question marks, or at least take a fair amount of time. And so that's really what we're focused on at Ascend, is streamlining the end-to-end process of, okay, we've got an insured that's ready to pay for this cyber liability policy. Let's make it easy for them to pay, and then handle a lot of the manual tasks that are going to come down the road in terms of making the payables and things of that sort. And so what I'm hearing in conversations with agencies today is, as the market continues to be in the state that it is, more agency bill is finding its way into agencies where they prefer to, direct bill their clients when they can. So they're looking for ways to be more efficient as an organization. And the other challenge that I hear on top of it, and I'm sure you might hear this as well amongst your friends, is, it's hard to find talent to take on some of these processes.
Everything.
And yeah. And so you're essentially finding yourself in a position where you are asking your existing team to do more with less, right?
Yeah.
And so, how can it's not just Ascend, right? There's other insurtechs that are out there that are trying to bring value to independent agencies, to allow them to, maintain the team that they have and equip them to be more efficient, not only internally but also externally for their insureds.
100%. And I think that mantra of, I mean, this isn't how we necessarily say it, but do more with less, meaning we have, like, it's harder to find quality people right now. And so we've got to figure out better and different ways to serve our clients and our insureds, right? And you guys have certainly built a pretty solid mousetrap around a couple of particular issues in firms, but take that a step higher. When you're talking to agencies right now, what's just that general sense you're feeling around, what are they dealing with internally when it comes to efficiency, productivity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then how are some of the best ones looking to solve that? Like, you know what I'm trying to say today? Is there a process in which the really good firms go through to help figure out, is Ascend what can help us get to the next level, or whatever tech it is?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at like the status quo of an agency that's handling a fair amount of agency bill premium, there's a lot of hands touching a single policy, right? And so how can we reduce the number of people that have to get involved, and apply technology that still provides that layer of visibility to all of those stakeholders, but not everyone needs to get their hands on that single policy or that single insured, right? And so that's that falls on my plate to understand who are those stakeholders that really care about the agency bill premium that flows through their organization. What do each of those stakeholders have as a responsibility, and then how can our technology provide that layer of visibility and understanding of, okay, even though 5 people might touch this policy today, well, maybe only 2 need to, but still all 5 of those individuals are still able to have a good understanding of, has this insured made their payment? When's their next payment due? Do they have the ability to make a change to their method of payment? Have the wholesalers or carriers been paid, so that way people on the finance side are happy, and all of those things. So that's one thing that we're focused on with some of the larger organizations is agency bill is all over the place, right? And there's a lot of friction that exists. So how can we reduce the friction, but again provide that layer of visibility that everyone needs, so that way they can focus less of their time on like calling insureds for their monthly installment, and focusing more of their time on revenue generating activities, to grow the agency.
Yeah, we don't talk about that at all, do we, Ryan?
No, this is the first time I think we reference this in terms of like value compression at the agency level. Like that's how we sum up do more for me now than what you did last time, and with less resources. And that it particularly creates quite the issue when we don't have the ability to just raise our fees. Like how many emails do you get on an annual basis, specifically with inflation where it is right now, where they just say, hey, if you, due to increased cost, your fees going up 4%, we hope you love what we do, talk to you later. And you're like, all right, well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like we don't have the ability to do that, while our premium dollars are certainly increasing due to inflation. Like we have that other layer that is kind of holding us accountable. And so I think it starts to point us down this value compression road, to a certain point where it's like it kind of blinds us to what are the possibilities to add, take efficiencies that we gain from tools like yours to then turn back around and innovate on how we provide value. So don't have it be
Yep.
centered around following up with somebody on a payment, but how can you take that same call and add value to the relationship or spin it a
Yep.
different way that like can help blow the top off this, since we don't have full control of how much we get paid.
Yep. And there's all these external forces too that are, making it difficult, I think, at times for agencies as well, where there's so much innovation that's happening, and clients expect like this, level of service or this specific client experience that, I think we're moving in the right direction inside of the insurance industry. But, you know, like you kind of said, do more for me, than what you did last year. And people are trying, but there's just all these different obstacles that you're just trying to get your hands around in the given moment. And so it just kind of it gets difficult when you are operating a $10 million agency, and the problem is significantly larger than maybe a $1 million shop, right? So
Totally. Well, it's something you were saying to on the heels of that is creating less friction in the client relationship so that you have the ability to add more value. And I think in the past, in a lot of firms, not even in the past, I still know this exists, but we do a lot of busy work on the back end, and we feel like because we're doing all that busy work, even if the client doesn't know we're doing the busy work, like we feel like that's providing value to the client. And at the end of the day, that stuff still has to get done. But if we can offload that to technology or to automated processes or whatever, and then turn that time into client-facing value generating time, which you might have to figure out what that is in your value prop, you're going to be able to build a better relationship. You're going to be able to maintain that client relationship for a longer period, et cetera, et cetera. And if you're not innovating in some of those ways, somebody is going to do it. Like it's much easier to get a message out in front of clients and prospects nowadays that they're going to see that, right? And I think that's where I look at how a tech stack can really come in and make a difference. I mean, there's obviously a bunch of different areas that tech can, be inserted into that client journey. But thinking about it from that perspective, I feel like is some of the most powerful, where if you can use technology or think about processes in a different way to eliminate that friction, allowing you to spend more time with your client is only going to be a positive value generating activity, right?
no, 100%. And I think the difficult thing right now for a lot of insurance agencies is, they've got 10 versions of Chris Peabody calling on them for their business, right? And they're getting pulled in all these different directions. And there's all these shiny objects that are out there, right? And there's this shiny object syndrome that essentially happens where it's like, oh, there's Ascend, oh, there's Tarmica, oh, there's 10 other Insurtechs that are doing all these value added things to my business and saving me time. Which one do I tackle first, right? And it's like, I'm going to run over here. I'm going to run over here, and I'm going to learn more about Ascend. I'm going to run over here. I'm going to learn more about so on and so forth. And then nothing ends up happening, right? And so, like, my one piece of advice to agencies or producers out there is like, what's that one thing that you're trying to maybe tackle this quarter or like the first half of the year, and maybe figure out who are the players that are bringing value to that space. And then figuring out, like, is there enough value to make a partnership come to fruition, or is it just, are you better off doing what you're doing now, right? And just trying to like take bite-sized chunks of what are the initiatives that you have for the remainder of 2023 and beyond, and not getting distracted by all of these different solutions that are out there, because there's so much to be distracted by. It's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. When you talk to anyone that goes to like Insurtech Connect, it's like it's a zoo.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, I believe nothing happens at that conference.
I've heard that from so many people.
Yeah.
So many people. I actually
We
have
know
never
a couple
been, but
people that have skipped it and went to different smaller conferences.
yeah.
I mean, I love
Totally.
it. It's a fun time. I've been
Well,
out there quite a bit,
it's in
but I'm
Vegas,
just
right?
being honest. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Well, so how many then, how, like, we talked to a lot of firms, how many of them do you feel like approach it that way, or even have a pretty clear picture as to where they're going as a firm? You know, with a clear strategy, a clear vision that they are making these decisions within.
Yeah. Not enough.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. I
I would
can't. I
agree.
can't like say. I can't say a percentage, but I think. I think what I've seen through my own personal experiences and even talking to others is a lot of people in the industry are okay with how things are. It's like, this is how I've done it for the last 10
Mm,
years. So why change it? Like, I understand, change of behavior is extremely difficult. Um, and people are, they're scared of change. It's like, is this going to take my job? Right. And that's really not the value that I think a lot of these organizations are trying to portray is, hey, we're going to take your job because we're making payments easier, or we're making quoting small commercial easier, or what have you. It's like, how can we take the busy work, like you said? I mean, there's so much busy work that goes on behind the scenes that clients don't see. How can we take that off of your plate so that way you can your time where the agency needs you to be spending your time?
exactly. 100%. And I think a lot of agencies are not thinking of it that way. You know, we have to start getting a lot more strategic. I'm not a, doomsday Insurtech is coming for our jobs like, it was 10 years ago or whatever, when Insurtech kind of first started to really become prevalent. But I do think, let's put it this way, there is so much opportunity for firms that want to think about it from this lens and actually come at it from the perspective of, you're not just offering a product that your client has to buy. That's one piece of your client interaction with you and your client relationship and the client journey. But I don't feel like most firms, to what you mentioned, have really sat down and thought, like, what are we trying to achieve? What are we trying to accomplish for our clients? And having a guiding star for making those decisions, because, like, Ascend is a fantastic tool, but if you're only going out and writing small commercial bops that are all direct bill, like, it's probably not a fit. But
Right.
if you're say, well, no, I want to go out and niche in E&S, some hard class of contractor, you're going to need a tool like Ascend, but unless you know that, if you're just willy-nilly going here some days, going there some days, that's where it becomes very difficult to pick what solutions you need to go solve these problems you're going to face on behalf of your client.
100%. I mean, I was on a call with one of our advisory board members last week, and the one like piece of advice that I'll share with you all that I learned from him was, to your point of, like, if you know who you are and you know what your makeup looks like, I think you're in a much better position to succeed, because then you know what areas that you need to invest in, or what areas you need to do more discovery around adding technology. Because what he shared with me was, they use this technology to understand, like, where their people spending their time, and what's kind of taking them away from adding value to their clients. And they shared, the amount of value that Ascend has provided to their agency, which was like providing an individual 30% of their time back a month.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, no joke. And I say that only because I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, how do you know this? He's like, well, because we care to know as much as we possibly can about our organization and where our people are spending our time. That's the only reason I know that. if I didn't understand my makeup of my agency and where my people are, you know, when their fingers are hitting keystrokes and when their fingers are clicking the mouse, I couldn't tell you that. So that's like the one thing that I took away from it is with agencies that have invested to know like where's their organization spending their time and like who they are. It allows you then to figure out, okay, if I have 5 people doing X and I need to make their lives easier, what are like the things that those 5 people are doing and what are the technologies that exist to make them more efficient? And then I'm going to go figure that one thing out instead of, again, like that shiny object that example of, you know, there's all these cool things going on, you know, maybe I'll just pick this one off the shelf and see if it moves the needle or not.
Well, it's easy to do too. I mean,
I mean,
shiny objects are, yeah.
We're all, I mean, we're all human. Like we want to have the coolest, you know, shiny objects that we can tout to our friends about. But you know, it can be distracting. So
how many of these, you know, small to medium-sized agencies are still dealing with kind of the symptom of principals and you know, the big producers building books of business instead of building an actual enterprise? You know, we talk about that a lot where, you know, there's got to be a shift. There's got to be good enough people inside these agencies that really want to take the enterprise to the next level and want to take the risk on to get the enterprise to the next level. And it, you know, you got to work on all those things then from a growth perspective. It's not just about competing with value compression anymore. You've actually got to simultaneously figure out how to grow. And that's tricky from, you know, our experience in having these conversations where it takes special people in these small to medium-sized agencies that step up and say, no, let's put it on our back and we're going to innovate through this. And I don't know how many are on that curve yet, but I could see that being a hurdle. Do you have any like perspective into that?
yeah, I would say that's definitely like a hurdle that I've seen through my experiences. You know, I think there's one thing that comes to mind. It's like, are there individuals inside of agencies that feel empowered to do that, right? That they feel that they're empowered to go and move the needle to get to the agency to the next level, or is the leadership just okay with the status quo? It's like, okay, we're just gonna continue to grow at that, you know, 3 to 7% year over year, and that's totally fine. Compared to agencies that want to grow beyond that. And so which individuals feel that they're empowered to help get the agency to that next tier is it's always a challenge, like find that champion, right? And really sees the underlying value and how it's, you know, that specific technology or tool is going to impact not only like their job and their day to day, but how's it going to impact the organization? How's it going to impact the clients, right? And so I still think that there's, you know, just people are okay with doing business that's been done the way it's been done for the last, you know, 50 plus years, whatever it's been. So
true. How do we get past that? You know, how do we get more firms thinking this way and not that kind of old thought process, you know?
yeah, you know, I've been thinking about that actually a little bit myself, mainly because so I'm the oldest of 4, and I've got some younger siblings that are like right at that point in their lives where they're, you know, graduating college and they're, you know, moving into their professional careers. And, you know, I tell my one brother, you know, I think he'd be great if it came to, you know, focusing on, you know, like a cannabis wholesaler or something like that. That's what he'd be good at. Wholesale broker, yeah. But I tell my siblings like how much I've grown to appreciate the insurance industry, and they're like, oh my gosh, like insurance sounds so lame. And I remember even saying that myself at one point when I was,
Oh yeah, everybody
ready to
does.
graduate, and I'm getting my hair cut, and my barber's asking me, hey, who are you gonna go, work for out of college? And I was like, oh, I'll probably just go work for my dad. He has a landscape company here in Columbus. And he's like, you should go work for this guy. And he was waiting to get his haircut, and he had a insurance agency. And I remember saying, there's no way I will ever be in the insurance industry. And now here I am, 6, 7 years into my insurance career, and I am in love with it. And I think if there's just more visibility into like the younger talent pool that's out there of all the different things that you can get your hands into, I think that's where it starts. Because I mean, the innovation that the younger, population is coming up with is incredible. And how can we create that open and welcome environment into, inviting them into it, compared to this is a slow moving, you know, industry that doesn't feel receptive to change. And I mean, you hear about these insurance agencies are just struggling to, bring in talent, right?
Yeah.
It's like no one wants to
Brutal.
be calling clients to collect payments and stuff. No one wants to be, quoting 7 different small commercial carriers, like all these different things. And so it's like, how can we create this perception that there's so much more that people can get involved in, that's again like deeper than what the surface level shows.
I think that's spot on. I mean, I think it's one of the best things about our industry, but the best kept secret, I guess you could say. Not that we want it to be. But there's so many different avenues to get engaged in our industry as well. I mean, you can go everything from sales to accounting to technology to customer service, marketing, it kind of spans the gamut. And I don't know if we don't do a good enough job of telling that story to get people interested or what, but it is certainly a big piece, I think, moving forward. I also think we got to do a better job of telling the why behind our industry, right? I mean, we are a key pivotal piece of our economy, and nothing
100%.
moves without insurance. We support people when they're in their most dire need, et cetera, et cetera. And I think a lot of times it gets looked at as we're just selling insurance, it's that old
Yep.
school mentality around it. So,
well, it's just
Well, like
sorry, Chris. I feel like it'd be a lot better off if we didn't have to have it. If we didn't have to have it personally, if we didn't have to have it as a business owner, and people had to elect and they made a choice to go buy it, their perception would be different on it. I mean, I think the message that gets ran through the TV during a football
100%.
game on the Big Ten network like doesn't do us any favors, because it minimalizes our story to, like, you have to have this product. So it's just a function of like, where do you find it the cheapest? And that reverberates across the industry.
The fact that I associate an emu with insurance is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is so true.
It's true.
I mean, not bad commercials, but so true. Yeah,
but I think like,
what do you have against the lizard?
I mean, I have nothing against the lizard, but I mean, I figured the emu is like a more unique, animal to throw out there. So
definitely was. Yeah, that was definitely an interesting connection to make. So, Limu the emu.
But no, I mean that's just like another point is, people have insurance pounded into their brains by, Patrick Mahomes commercials and the gecko and the emu and all these other, call it endorsements or sponsorships that are out there, and it's just like kind of tired of it as a consumer, right? It's like, why do I want to, immerse myself from a career into it? if I'm getting attacked every single time I sit down to watch Wheel of Fortune or whatever it is.
Wheel of Fortune.
So
Is that one of your top shows?
I'm
a
Nothing
loyal
wrong with
viewer.
that. I'm just saying.
I mean, yes.
Yes. Not a boy.
I look, I'm not gonna lie. I probably watch Wheel of Fortune, 3 times a week.
Oh, not a
So
boy.
it's just like it's like one thing you can have on in the background, and you kind of pick your eyes up and you get a laugh. So
There's some
Yes,
without
comforting
having to
about
make
it
you
too,
think.
because it's been there for 30 years.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
I keep
Which
You
Well,
also
they-
want to you want to guess the puzzle before the contestants do. So there's like a little bit of
Yep.
pride factor in there. Where it's like I got that before you did.
And I'm
That is
super
true.
intrigued. They're dangling out Maggie Sajak as a perpetuation plan for Pat, his daughter, and like you gotta wonder how it's gonna play out. So
Interesting. Oh,
That's true. That's true.
did you build that perpetuation plan for Wheel of Fortune, Ryan?
I did not, but they're
Oh.
doing pretty good right now. I mean, it's like they got you wondering.
Yeah, that's good. All right, dude. Well, this is good. That's fun, and I know what you guys are doing with Ascend is pretty awesome. How can listeners, if anybody wants to find out more about, contact you or find out more about Ascend, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Feel free to look me up on LinkedIn. First name Chris, last name Peabody. Or feel free to shoot me an email. It's Chris CHRAS at useascend.com. So
Awesome. Yeah, and we can link that stuff in the show notes so everybody's got it.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. You're awesome. Thanks for the time, and had a blast. Hopefully we'll see you at some of the conferences coming up soon.
Yeah, you might not see me at Insurtech Connect, but the other ones for sure. So
Perfect.
guys,
Don't
I
see us
appreciate
there
having
either.
me on. Sounds
Absolutely,
good. I
Chris.
appreciate
Thanks
having
for
me
coming
on. And I mean, it's honestly stuff like this though that really is moving the industry forward, and I'm grateful for it because again, like I really do appreciate the insurance industry. The thing that I love the most is the people and their relationships, and it's things like this that really do make a big impact. So appreciate you guys.
Awesome, man. You too. We'll catch you soon.
Thanks, man. See you.
All right, thanks.